Hello, this is Scott McDonald, and we want to talk about the perfect place to practice. Now, as you may know, I'm working hard to get into the discussing of states that I think have a particularly strong potential in terms of purchasing or starting up a practice. Today, I'm going to talk about the state of Florida. I have to credit my friend, Greg Auerbach, who's a practice broker in Florida, for helping me compile a list of some of the places that may not be in the most obvious locations in the state to practice. I think he would want me to also credit his staff, who've been very helpful in adding this as well. So, let's start with a bit of an overview on the state of Florida. This is the third largest state in terms of population in the country. With 21 million plus, it's the eighth most densely populated state, and you may be surprised to know that Jacksonville is the most populous city, with Miami being the most populous area within the state. It's a metropolitan area. If Florida were a country, it would be the 16th largest economy in the world. The unemployment rate is really low at about 3.5%. It's considered one of the fastest growing states in the country. It has become larger than New York State as of 2014. It also is the highest percentage of adults over 65, 17%, in the United States. 2/3 of the inhabitants in Florida were born elsewhere, so they're used to seeing people that are not local. For the military retirees, there are 186,000 of them. This makes it one of the biggest vet states in the country. In 2008, Florida was leading the nation in mortgage defaults, and housing prices had fallen through the floor. But the last 10 years have been very good for Florida. And one reason is that many people have moved here due to favorable tax situations, which, frankly, appears to be improving, and the really terrible tax situations that we find in other states, particularly in the Northeast of the country. We once heard a joke that the favorite wine in New York was, "I want to move to Florida." You get it? It's a joke? Okay. Now, in fact, Florida has become a big destination for people who are fed up with northern winters. Oh, sure, they'll put up with a tropical storm from time to time, but if it means not having to go out and shovel snow in sub-zero weather, well, they can put up with a little rain and a lot of wind. Still, it is the improved housing situation, I think, the favorable cost of living, and the employment situation that has been making every part of Florida more popular than ever before. And in fact, it's not just in one big city or two. Florida has jobs everywhere. And there's little doubt that the air conditioner has made Florida of today possible, meaning it's hot. Now, the four metropolitan areas that have had the most success are Miami, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, with about 6 million people. Tampa and St. Petersburg, Clearwater, has about 3 million. Then Orlando, Kissimmee area has about 2.5 million, with Jacksonville at 1.5 million. Now, there are a couple of other factors that have made Florida zoom ahead of much of the nation in terms of business startups. And I want you to be aware, if you're putting a practice here, that will matter for you. One big one is a low minimum wage, which ranges between $5.08 to $8.10 in the tax structure. The cost of doing business, in other words, is generally lower in Florida than elsewhere. That means risks are lower. Overall, the tax burden for the state is lower than the vast majority of other states as well. Some people say Florida's about in the top 10 favorable tax sites. Now, it's true, the local taxes can be much higher for the most part, but the electorate has been reluctant to support higher taxes, which make a good excuse for people to move here. Now, that being said, some people complain that the state does not fund big projects readily. And some people feel that that makes Florida backward. This can be a mixed blessing, but in terms of how it has influenced Florida's population its popularity, its growth, certainly not hurt anything. Now, one of the things that I always recommended for people who are looking for places to practice, whether it's a purchase or it may be a startup, is population growth. And Florida has got it. The best municipality to start your search is a county. Now, there are 5 counties in Florida that deserve special attention regarding this statistic of growth. The first 3 have grown more than 30% since 2010. Now, granted, they are not always the counties or the largest counties, biggest population, but they certainly show great potential. The first is Sumter County. This is the area south of Ocala and is easily accessed via I-75. You should know that the growth has primarily been among those who are 65 years of age and older in this area. Osceola County is younger and more metropolitan, by contrast. It's south of Orlando and contains the big city of Kissimmee. The north end of the county contains most of the population and most of the growth. Now, another county I want you to think about is St. Johns County. It's just south of Jacksonville and has the benefit of a much higher median household income than most of the state, at about $85,000 median household income. Also has pretty good educational attainment scores. The remaining very high growth counties are Walton County, between Pensacola and Panama City on the north, not too far from Tallahassee. It is certainly not as affluent, but it has very, very good growth. Manatee County has Bradenton and is south of Tampa, St. Petersburg metro, and it's off to the western coast. It's a personal favorite of mine. I love the quality of life there. And Lee County, which is mostly Cape Coral and Fort Myers. It's on the Gulf side of the state in the southern region. Now, for those who are not quite as excited about higher risks, these communities are great for practice purchases that I'm going to name here, and definitely offer a more, well, let's say, affordable approach to getting into practice. Based upon my numbers, they represent what I consider to be a good place to go and to get rich. Because you see, the cost of doing business is much lower in these locations. The practices are not that expensive, not as expensive as you'll find in the more upscale areas. And the areas are fairly well developed, and you can find practices that will be able to show their numbers in such a way that they seem both profitable as investments and secure for the most part. And what they're doing, really, is they're continuing to develop. In short, these places are better risks. They include Tallahassee, Ocala, Dayland, Lakeland, Newport Richey, which is near Trinity, Punta Gorda, and Port Charlotte. There's Inglewood, which is also near Northport, Delray, Boynton Beach. There's Stewart, Palm City, and Jupiter, which are also together, and Wellington. Now, in summary, I like what I'm seeing in these areas from a demographic standpoint, and that is why they're on my list to help you find the perfect place to put a practice. If you would like a referral to some great practice brokers, by the way, if you're really serious about it, who also know the area, please write to me at info@drdemographics.com. This is Scott McDonald, and thanks so much for watching. Oh, and also tell your friends. You can get a free copy of our General Dentist Site Selection Handbook by going to www.dentistsiteselection.com. You can get it for just the price of shipping. It's also available on Amazon. I'm Scott McDonald for Dr. Demographics. I'm the Demographics Weatherman. Whether you should get that practice or not, you get it?